You might disagree, though.
I'm not saying that any, study into any of that stuff is bad, man. I own a copy of Morals and Dogma. I own a first edition of The Secret Destiny of America. I own plenty of those books, and I read them and I study them, and I think I encourage all that. I mean, by all means, if you want information, about anything having to do with a mystery school or any sort of mysticism or ancient teachings, get their works and read their works. Don't rely on people like Jordan Maxwell or Tsarion or any of the other, people we have out here who claim they're, out there to spread knowledge. Dude, get their books and read them yourself. Do yourself a favor. Go to the horse's mouth if you want facts. Like, I absolutely encourage all of that. And I'm not saying that you should necessarily practice or not practice, but when you have Tsarion with his connections back to J. Krishnamurti, who was his mentor.
Who's that? J. Krishnamurti? What was his name? Can you repeat that?
J. Krishnamurti or Krishnamurti. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name. He's got some compliments to him all over an article that he had on one of his pages. It's basically an about article where I don't know if he wrote it, or if somebody was asking him questions or what, but the article is actually called Origins and Oracles, but it's not a video. It's just an article on one of the pages of his sites that you can read. And in the article, he praises Crowley more than once, and he talks about some of his other connections as well. I was trying to get into some of the research here and find certain connections that he had that were referenced by Chris White that he made earlier, and I actually couldn't even find some of them because it appears that Tsarion's bio has been changed on his page. There was somebody called True Soldier search on Tsarion, and they posted links to, his old bio, and he must have revised it since because the old page no longer exists, but they're all people that make perfect sense that he would have said, and half of them he does, talk about on his current bio. So, I mean, there's no reason to think that any of it's made up, and I can't get to some of it, but basically he was talking about how Tsarion had connections to J. Krishnamurti, as well as what's her name? She's a very famous actress. I forgot what her name is. Let me see here. I got the article up.
Well, it's a lot of information you're throwing at us. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Derek. I'm not convinced that Tsarion is part of some sort of conspiracy. I'm still not convinced. You might be onto something, but I mean, as of right now, with the information you've given me, I'm still not convinced. But you can keep sending me info. Go ahead.
Let me get into just a couple things, which are the strongest pieces of evidence. Number one, here's the background of one of his pages. This is the Terrascopes.com non-members page where it gives.
Okay. Hey, Derek, we're gonna get cut off about 15 seconds. So what I'll do is in the next segment, we got 5 minutes. I'll let you run down the strongest pieces of evidence you have that indicate that there's something strange going on here, and we'll go from there. So, folks, we'll be right back. We'll finish up with Derek from the Midwest. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have Derek from the Midwest on the line. And, Derek, throw out your smoking gun evidence that you have dealing with Tsarion. We have about a little over 4 minutes in this segment, so I'll give you the floor. Just throw it out there for the audience.
All right, this first one is a clip. This is one of his clips, I believe, on Crowley's Nuts. Check this out. This is a 1-minute clip, I think. Here we go.
And Blavatsky, I mean, he's basically just falling all over himself when they come up here. I'll play a real quick clip what he says about Aleister Crowley and how he was just not understood for what he was, and then he gets real mad because the Christian's asking him this question, and he's like, I don't want to debate this with you. You think that you just take it out of context and whatnot. Even if you took this out of context, though, I mean, just logically speaking, you are apologizing for something that is very clearly a huge part of this new world. I mean, people have spent a lot of time implicating Aleister Crowley as a major player in this new world order game, and here is this guy defending the hell out of this guy. Here, listen to him real quick.
That I don't know anything about, but I can certainly tell you that those quotes that have been taken from the book Magic and Theory and Practice have been totally misinterpreted. This is a case in point I was just talking to you about, Doug, is that people take one little line from Magic and Theory and Practice about the child sacrifices and so on without even printing the whole passage. People need to go to that area of the book. In fact, they need to go to the book and read it about the incredible, beautiful, the spirituality of that man and of that book have yet to be brought out.
That was Tsarion basically being an apologist for Crowley, and that there's another part of that clip that you can get into as well if you see the rest of the series of those videos. Another clip, still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You said you had another clip?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You said you had another clip? I mean, because basically we've got about like a minute left. I'm not sure if we have time to play the clip, but basically you're saying that Crowley, or not Crowley, but Tsarion is an apologist for Aleister Crowley. Is that pretty much?
That's one of the big points, and then there are a few more clips that I have ready, but it's more than just a few clips. There are, I mean, countless instances of him taking things, either passages from books out of context, or taking a paragraph and literally taking like the first couple sentences of the paragraph, cutting out the next 7 words or even the next 7 lines, and then, dot, and then the end of it, where if you don't have the middle passage, you completely lose the context, and it sounds like he's talking about something completely different from what the actual text means if you were to read it in the context. And those are the things that are real important. I wish I had a little more time to go through that kind of stuff, because the previous stuff was just like questionable connection. That was supposed to be like build up to my major points, basically about him actually taking things out of context and misinforming people and doing things that are provably nefarious.
All right. Well, hey, Derek, I got to move on. I got to finish up some news, but thanks for your call. I'll comment on what you had to say after the break. I appreciate the call, but we got a break. I got cut off here. Stay with us, everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I just want to comment on some of this Tsarion stuff that Derek was putting out there. All I can say is that there are certain researchers that are going to interpret different writings and different materials a certain way. And I don't think that necessarily means that they're part of some conspiracy. I'm not seeing that with Tsarion. Now, maybe he is part of the conspiracy. I don't know. I'm just not convinced of it at this point in time. And quite honestly, I don't trust anybody fully. That includes Michael Tsarion or anybody else. Now, there's a difference between, let's say, somebody coming out and saying, yes, I'm a Freemason, yes, I'm involved in a secret society, yet I'm also part of a We Are Change group. Now, that is obvious, that is definitive, that is provable. This right here, I mean, Tsarion is going to have opinions on certain things that not everybody's going to agree with. Absolutely. I'm going to have opinions on things that not everybody's going to agree with. But your opinion or your interpretation of something doesn't necessarily mean that you're part of a conspiracy. And what I look at more is associations and things like that. Now, I got to look deeper into this information about his association with the Order of the Golden Dawn and things like that. But beyond that, his interpretation of writings and materials, I can't say that that is definitive proof of some sort of conspiracy. So, I don't know. I'll look into this a little bit further, but, sometimes when you try to look for a conspiracy, sometimes you start going down these rabbit trails. But like I said before, I can't trust any of these people fully. And you shouldn't. Even if there isn't definitive proof of some sort of conspiracy, I wouldn't trust anything that gets put out until you can verify it for yourself. So, we could spend more time dissecting these things with Tsarion and whatnot, but I got some other stuff that I want to get to, and we spent a good 35 minutes of the show getting into that information. I'm willing to hear more information on a future show if Derek wants to call back in again, but Okay, so he's got a belief about Aleister Crowley. Okay, so he believes a certain thing about Aleister Crowley. All right, I may not agree with that. In fact, I don't necessarily agree with that point of view. But I don't know. I just don't see that as being something they can use as proof that he's part of a conspiracy. And that's just my opinion. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, you out there, you can draw your own conclusions. Tsarion's been on this network a few times in our shows. I don't really have that much of a desire to interview him, and I probably won't. But I know who's interviewed him on this show or on this network. Michael Vale has, Doug Owen has. I'm trying to think if anybody else has. I'm not sure if Freeman's done an interview with him. I really don't know. Either way, you know, just look at the information the guy puts out and judge for yourself if you think it's nonsense or if it's legitimate. I don't know what else I can say.
All right, so that was me on Live Free or Die Radio with Lee Rogers attempting to do an expose on Michael Tsarion, and I would encourage everybody to go back and re-listen to this broadcast one more time and try to listen specifically for the times where I am making a point about Michael Tsarion, and instantly, as soon as I make my point, Lee Rogers must come in and jump to Michael Tsarion's defense. I find it highly suspicious that he had to attempt to deflect everything that I had to say.